Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The roar of the beast as the Norscan hordes do make their approach against the Empire. We have myself leading the Norscan forces, and we have Chosen One is going to be leading the forces of the Empire today. So for the Norscan forces, we have Wulfric the Wanderer on his Mammoth. He's going to be bringing Seafang and Hunter of Champions. We do have a Skinwolf Werekin, which is going to be bringing its armor, which gives a little extra armor and missile resist to the surrounding units. And then we have a Shaman Sorcerer of Death, going to be bringing Spirit Leech and Fate of Buna. For the infantry department, we do have 5 Marauders, one of which is the Icehorn Marauders with their Immunopsych and Perfect Vigor. We have double Norscan Ice Trolls, a little bit of a risky pick, but a decent pick nonetheless, as they do have Frostbite and Armor Piercing, so they can slow down any units that they are able to damage. And we do have 4 horsemen, 3 of which are the Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes, and we do have 1 Horse Master as well. A little bit of skirmishing potential, and the throwing axes do quite well against targets such as Karl Franz and pretty much any other cavalry unit. But that is it for Norsca, as they will be contending against a full kite build that the Empire has brought, and they do have Karl Franz up in the air with Gal Maraz and Reichling Runefang, as well as Stand Your Ground. For the rest of the department, we also have a Jade Wizard as well, bringing Regrowth and Earthblood. And then we have the Mass Kite units. We have triple Knights of the Blazing Sun, which are very good against any of the regenerating units. So that would be the Werekin, any of the Skinwolves, which Norsca is very well known for, but there are none of those today. But they do have Norscan Ice Trolls, which will be a very good target for them with their flaming attacks. But we do have triple Pistoliers as the kind of forefront, but then the heavy hitters are going to be the triple Outriders. Handgunners on horseback are what they are, and they will do quite a bit of good damage themselves if they're able to get their shots in. And then we do have some infantry in the department, but not a whole lot. We have 2 spearmen and 1 Tattered Souls Flagellants. So that is the ROR unit there, and an unbreakable unit in a kite build, very good at holding things back, allowing the missile cavalry to do their work. So a very good little army that we have for today. But let's get the show on the road, as the kiting elements of the Empire are getting in range, as they will be opening up. Now pretty much Norsca, what they have to do here is pretty much just keep these Marauders in the front of the engagement, let their shields soak up as much of the fire as they can, or even just let the Norscan Ice Trolls take the shots as well, because they do have regenerating, and if they are able to pretty much avoid losing any models, they'll do quite well. And there are also the Beast of Tashnar and the Norscan Warhounds, which I did forget to mention earlier on. But so far, we do have some of the Knights of the Blazing Sun looking to be getting some nice free charges off onto these Marauders and doing a nice bit of damage in the process there. But the other Marauders will be responding, as well as the Norscan Ice Trolls trying to get some damage in. And it does look like we have a little spell going down on top of one of the Knights of Blazing Sun, a Fate of Buna, no less. Very good against kind of some elite cav. And the Werekin is able to just get onto them a little bit, maybe doing a little bit of damage. And if these Ice Trolls are able to engage, they will slow them down even farther. As you can see, their speed is down to 45 right now, so they'll be doing some good damage there. So these Knights of Blazing Sun taking a massive amount of damage, and Earthblood will be going down, just as these Knights of Blazing Sun are terrified actually from Wulfric and these trolls. But the rest of the skirmishing forces, we do have all of the throwing axes are trying to get in as much fire as they can. Knights of Blazing Sun starting to arc their way towards these Norscan Warhounds, keeping them honest in this engagement. But these Pistoliers just opening up on the Marauders, and Pistoliers do trade very, very well into regular Marauders or the throwing axes variant. The Horse Masters do sustain that a little bit better, but the regular Marauders do have fairly low leadership, and they take damage fairly quickly. Otherwise, the rest of the engagement is still going fairly well for Norsca right now, absorbing much of the shots by these Norscan Ice Trolls and the shields of the Marauders. And of course, these Knights of Blazing Sun took a considerable amount of damage, already down to 50% health. And Karl Franz just kind of circling around, looking to pick his engagements, as he is pretty much free to engage as long as these throwing axes are on the far side of the engagement. Another nice little charge, though, by these Knights of the Blazing Sun as they do come in. But the Norscan Ice Trolls and Wulfric himself is very quick to respond, slowing down these Knights of the Blazing Sun from these Norscan Ice Trolls. And the Werekin also getting on top of things, doing some more damage as the models are just bleeding away. But right now, the Outriders are going to be targeting Wulfric the Wanderer himself with all of their focus fire, doing quite a bit of damage. And Karl Franz still reluctant to engage, as Hunter Champions is still a very risky prospect in this battle. Knights of Blazing Sun again trying to push off these Beasts of Tashnar, and they are quick to pull out to avoid that as the throwing axes continue to pepper them and getting some nice damage off. But the frontline engagement has actually gone underway, as the Tattered Souls are going to be holding back the tide of the Marauders, and Karl Franz himself is now engaged, and the Werekin trying to come in and engage, but Karl Franz quickly able to kind of push through all the entities here, though now Wulfric is on top of him, doing some nice damage. But with him so far forward, we have all three of the Outriders are just targeting Wulfric down. We do have also a Seafang, which is going to be a fantastic cast right there, ripping right through 2 units of the Knights of Blazing Sun, as well as the Tattered Souls. A very nice cast here. The Marauders able to kind of peel off some of these Spearmen, and otherwise now the Beasts of Tashnar and Norscan Warhounds trying to get around to try and shut down all of these pistol units here, as well as the Outriders. Wulfric pulling off after he has taken a considerable amount of damage, but if we take a quick look, he is still at 3,500 HP, which is still a considerable amount. And Karl Franz is starting to take some damage too, with this Skinwolf Werekin in the picture here, as well as both of the Norscan Ice Trolls. And a lot of the engagement is going pretty decently in the Norscan's favor, though the Marauders are going to be able to chew through these Spearmen fairly easily enough. And with that Seafang, these Tattered Souls are only down to 33 models and are very, very low. And it looks like there was an Earthblood going to be cast, and actually it's a regrowth that was casted on top of Karl Franz, giving him some very much needed health in this engagement. And now it looks like these horsemen are smelling a little bit of blood in the water, as these Knights of Blazing Sun are very, very weakened, as they are trying to push back these Pistoliers and Outriders as best they can with some assistance of some more Marauder horsemen. And we do have the Beast of Tashnar and the Norscan Warhounds look like they are chasing off one of the Pistoliers units, but 2 of the throwing axes have been routed off, but also the Knights of Blazing Sun with the focus fire from the Pistoliers and the advent of Karl Franz into that engagement. And the balance of power is getting very close back to even right now after the initial volley was in Norscan's favor. The Skinwolf Werekin taking a lot of damage. Luckily, he does have that armor that gives him a bit of armor and physical resist, but I mean, it is 3 Outriders, and they will do a considerable amount of damage. But he does have regen, so if they are not able to finish him off, he will continue to regain health throughout the course of this match. Otherwise, these Beasts of Tashnar have gotten a little too overextended and are going to be routed off, though they do come back. Though they are going to be hounded by quite a few of the Knights of Blazing Sun, as well as some Outriders. But otherwise, the rest of the mobility has started to come back for Norsca, as 3 of the throwing axes are back, as well as the Norscan Warhounds are finished chasing off the kind of isolated pistol unit. Otherwise, though, these 2 Norscan Ice Trolls still very, very healthy right now, and that is going to be a big problem for the Empire in this match. Karl Franz looks like he is going to be targeting an isolated unit of Marauders, and these throwing axes are going to be coming in, trying to get some nice damage off onto him, and another Seafang going to be arcing right through these Spearman unit. Not a whole lot of very good targets for that Seafang in this engagement with the mobility force of all of these Empire pretty much cavalry units. We do have one of the Horse Masters. Actually, they have the Horse Master, though, is shattered, and it is down to just 3 units of the Marauder horsemen with throwing axes. Karl Franz continuing to try and hound them, get as much damage off as he can. This 1 unit of throwing axes is going to be wavering right now. Actually is broken now from the firepower from these Pistoliers, are going to be pushing them off. But now Norsca is able to shatter the Spearmen, so it is pretty much just down to the cavalry of the Empire forces here. Pretty much all that the Norscans really are going to have to try and do right now is just withstand the last of their ammo, as pretty much all of these skirmishing utility units are very, very low on ammo right now. This pistolier unit has used up the last of its ammo. We do have some more volleys from these outriders, but otherwise a lot of units very, very low. Now these Norscan Warhounds, getting a little ahead of themselves, are able to kind of get a little bit of damage off, but they are going to be wavering and routing, and luckily they are routing into their own formation, so they should be coming back momentarily. These throwing axes, though, are being pushed away from these pistoliers, and one of the other throwing axes has returned. Now, these throwing axes are also very, very low on ammo themselves, and Karl Franz, his healing cap is visible there, but he is still doing very, very nice on health, while Wolfric the Wanderer, he is getting fairly low, though he still is at 2300 HP, which is still a considerable mark. But these Norscan Ice Trolls are now coming in and getting into these outriders, doing some nice damage there, as I don't think there is quite enough ammo left for these outriders to really deal with these Norscan Ice Trolls. And the Shaman Sorcerer at Death is still sitting pretty with another Fate of Buna onto this already very, very low Knights of the Blazing Sun, and that might just be the nail in the coffin for that unit there, as it should peel off enough of its models and should be causing it to rout throughout the course of that spell. Otherwise, the rest of the Empire forces are continuing to kind of pull back and try and use up the last of its ammo, but we'll see if it will be enough. Pretty much that Karl Franz, his target is going to have to be Wolfric the Wanderer in this engagement. That is going to be the only way for them to get back, is kind of eliminate them through leadership losses, and so that's going to have to try and eliminate the two leadership, Saman and the Wolfric, and a nice little Seafang going to be going right through these outrider units actually, and they will be routing right now, and that is some ammo that will be lost if they are not able to come back into this engagement, as we still have quite a bit of mobility left for Norsca, as they are pushing off some Knights of the Blazing Sun on the fringes of this battle. Karl Franz looking to jump down on top of the Skinwolf Werekin, who, as we saw earlier in this match, was fairly low on health, but had regen, getting a lot of HP back. And now two of these Marauder units, though a nice Earthblood, going to be catching two of the Knights of Blazing Sun, as well as Karl Franz himself. Now the Werekin will turn and try and engage, and they wisely do pull out of this engagement, trying to sustain this battle. Otherwise, now we do have some more outriders looking to get some shots into Wolfric, but these Norscan Ice Trolls, they do not need infantry support when they are going to be engaging with Cav. Normally you do want to run them with at least some infantry, as they do have low leadership, but against skirmishing Cav they will do fairly well regardless. Now these Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes are almost being able to push off these pistoliers, which they do eventually do. However, now they are engaged with Knights of the Blazing Sun, and they will not be winning that battle. However, that is just a part of this engagement, as the battle's power does actually go a little bit back into Empire's favor right now, though there is still quite a few very heavy hitters left for the Norscans. Now Karl Franz is making his play, jumping down on top of Wolfric the Wanderer. He is popping all of his things, Foe Seeker, Reichling, Runefang, Stand Your Ground, and Gal Miraz, but Hunter Champion is dropped on him as well in response. But it does look like Wolfric will be routing from that engagement. These Norscan Ice Trolls and the Marauder support just not quite enough to bring down Karl Franz, or to isolate him quickly enough to save Wolfric the Wanderer. And now we do see the Jade Wizard will be turning to chase off Wolfric himself, though Karl Franz has taken a considerable amount of damage in that engagement. These Norscan Ice Trolls are no slouches, as we do have a decent charge from these outriders, though they will not be winning against Norscan Ice Trolls, especially with the leadership support of that Shaman Sorcerer and a very decently healthy unit of Marauders with 47 models left, as those outriders do rout. And it is just down to Karl Franz right now as we take a look at the remaining forces, as these little pocket of Norscan forces with that Werekin able to push off these Knights of the Blazing Sun, and is just down to this unit of outriders and Karl Franz himself. And Karl is wavering, and this is looking very grim for the Empire, as the Norscan forces are very strong in this late stages. And that will be our match. And we take a look at the after battle report. A very, very fun match. Norscans generally do struggle quite a bit when it comes down to a full kite build that the Empire can bring, and in the right hands, as Chosen One is a very, very good player. The kite build is a very dangerous tool for these Norscans to deal with, but they were able to withstand all of that firepower, Wolfric, I mean, 10k HP is very, very hard to work its way through. I mean, these Outriders did a considerable amount of damage to them, but it just wasn't quite enough. And I think the biggest factor here in that late game was all these Norscan Ice Trolls. They did not lose a single unit throughout the course of the battle, and as you can see, they ended the battle at full health. So they were not any closer to routing than they were at the beginning of the match. I mean, they were probably tired and stuff, but that leadership from the Skinwolf Werekin and that Shaman Sorcerer was enough to keep them in the fight for pretty much anything that the Empire could throw at them in the late game, even the Knights of the Blazing Sun. So they were able to dish out a considerable amount of damage, and they did very, very well. Otherwise, I mean, these Marauders able to pretty much withstand the Pistolier fire, and it was just a very fun match. And I mean, I can't really fault anything. I mean, the Kite build is very, very strong against Norsca. Just Norsca was able to withstand it this day. That was a very fun match, and I do hope you all enjoyed the video. And as always, have a good one.